Beloved, Psalm 23 is often called the Psalm of the Good Shepherd. It begins, "The Lord is my shepherd." Every parent, every adult is called by Jesus to be good shepherds for your children. All parents, whether you be natural parents, godparents, grandparents, teachers, or anyone in institutions where you have children, we're all called to be shepherds for our children. How do we respond to this call to be good shepherds for our children? Philippians 4 verse 8 says, "Whatever is pure and lovely and good, think on these things." So every parent/adult who relates with a child or children should impart that which is good. Here's the problem. Just as every child is unique and different, so too is every parent. Therefore, it's quite difficult to say this is the good that everyone should subscribe to because of our own unique backgrounds, personalities, and choices. Perhaps one way of reflecting on what is good is to look at what is not good, the via negativa. We, as adults, and those of us who are natural parents, we often practice parenthood based on two things. One, the subjective. This is how I think my parenting skills will be conducted and passed on to my children. The other is the experiential, two sides to the experiential. Those of us who had good parents, we say, thank God for them. And the lessons that they taught, I hope to now teach my children, or the children under my care. But the other side of that is there are many adults who never had the wonderful blessing of parents who are able to be good parents. And so many adults grow up saying, whatever was lacking in my parents, however absent my parent was, whatever I did not get from my parent, I will make sure I pass on to my children. Be warned, as we look at what is not good, some of us may have to pray for the grace of healing, either for ourselves or for other adults that we know. The first, not good. During my early years, I would spend some summers with my grandmother in the country. And it was quite common for me to be awakened by the screams of the dog or dogs next door. For whatever reason, the owner was not happy with what the dog or dogs did. And one way of showing disapproval was the incredible beating that the animal would receive. And as you heard the poor animal screaming, your heart went out to it. The sad thing is, a parent who habitually beats an animal like that sooner or later forgets that the child, a gift and blessing from God, is not the animal. And it was quite common to sometimes hear the dog's screams replaced by the child's screams. In the back of the parental mind is the idea that I must beat the animal or the child into good. And some did not know where to draw the line. Beloved, experience has shown that there's room for some amount of discipline, but there's no room for physical abuse. Some parents, as I said, do not know the difference. And so to play it safe, I beg of you the following. As parents, as shepherds, who are called to look after our sheep, our children, if you feel your right hand burning, or if you're left-handed, your left hand burning because your child has been rude, disobedient, disrespectful, and your instant impulse is to swing as hard as you can, I beg of you, beloved, walk away. Do not punish your child in a state of anger. You may have experienced it. Some may be quite resentful today because they grew up in an atmosphere and a context like that. Yes, the parents meant well, but the physical and the emotional scars sometimes remain for a lifetime. And so I beg of you, as we continue to learn from our Good Shepherd what it means to be shepherd for our children, I beg of you, any attempt to be physically abusive to your children, walk away. Wait for some kind of peace or consolation to return. Then you can administer, hopefully, the right punishment. I have heard children screaming because of the beating. I have seen mothers and fathers dragging their children as if the child does not have feelings, which then leads to the second do not. In every parent's mind, you want the best for your child. Some adults grew up in families where it was a practice of parents to use words and labels that were quite distasteful, disgraceful, dare I say shameful. Many adults grew up with insecurity issues because their parents continued to pound them with labels and words that they thought would shame the child into being good, but only made the child more insecure and therefore very difficult to live with as an adult later on. What is the good? One way of practicing the good is do not. In addition to practice physical abuse, do not verbally abuse your children. The Good Shepherd calls each sheep to come. If you mistreat an animal habitually, no matter how many times you call the animal is going to cower and stay away. And the same thing is true with children. If you continue to call children, our children, derogatory names and shout and scream at them, they may come out of fear. It doesn't guarantee they come out of love. The Good Shepherd loves his sheep. Every parent, every adult is called to be a good shepherd for our children. And yes, we may have grown up, some of us, with that, and therefore it's hard to let go. But the aim of life is to learn and keep learning. Therefore, if you are tempted, beloved, to call your children with names and labels that are not positive but negative, I beg of you, stay away and refrain from such a practice. Which then leads to a very painful and final do not where good is concerned. The last time I raised the issue, some parents were upset that I dared to raise this issue in church. The recent Economic and Social Survey in Jamaica 2015 states that there are roughly 350 cases of child rape. That's what's reported. We won't go into what was not reported. When we are called to be shepherds for our children, the shepherd leads the sheep in green pastures. The image of green pasture can be symbolic for proper information. I beg of you, my dear parents, my dear adults, recognize that we all need to find time to spend with our children and give them the right information. Because if you don't provide it for them, chances are they're going to get the wrong information from others or through social media platforms. Teach our children what is acceptable and what is not, especially in the presence of other people. Do not be afraid to teach our children what is a right from a wrong touch. Give them the tools they need. If you think my child is too young to learn, you'll be shocked to find out what is happening in our, not primary schools or prep schools, but our basic schools. You will hold your head in shame if you hear some of the things being said and done by these children. And it goes right back to parenting. Are we spending enough time with our children to give them all the information they will need, reminding them that we all belong to the Good Shepherd in his sheepfold, but we are all called to live as his sheep, practicing that which is right and doing that which is good. If we learn how to do that and not be afraid, perhaps, beloved, perhaps our children will grow to understand what it means to worship and serve the Good Shepherd. Which then leads us to the second aspect of being shepherds. 1 Corinthians 14:33, God is a God of order, not disorder. As the Good Shepherd leads me into green pastures, therefore he calls us to receive right information. He is the one who leads us in the paths of righteousness. And how do we allow ourselves to be led? Teach our children, beloved, how to work with structure. There's a time to study, especially now exams are on, but there's also a time to close the book and go play. And when I say play, I don't mean sit down with a computer game. Too many of our children are either suffering from or are on the brink of obesity. They are getting too big based on the good food that is being consumed. How many parents say to your children, close the book, turn off the TV, turn off the computer / smart item that you may have, go outside and play? I hear some parents saying they don't want their children outside because the air is not good or the sun will burn them. OMG. Beloved, the gifts of creation are meant to be enjoyed. So as a parent, teach our children the meaning of structure. A time to study and a time to play. A time to party and a time to pray. I get a little bit concerned when I hear parents say the following: Father, can't you make the mass shorter so that the children can learn something? These are the same parents who take their children to all-day, sometimes all-night parties. And you wonder the following morning, where are the parents and where are the children? Every responsible parent should say to your child / children, you're going party, you're going movie, you're going to hang with your friends, be safe, be careful, and guess what? In the morning, wake up. We are going to church. The Good Shepherd leads and guides, and all of us as adults are expected to lead and guide our children back to him who is the eternal shepherd of life. Even moments of spontaneity must be seen as part of a vision. We are a people of God journeying back to him. Which then leads us to the third and final point. Proverbs 3 verse 12. God shows that he loves his children by discipline. That's a scary word for many Jamaicans. Too many Jamaicans tend to say or think, who is anybody to tell me how to live my life? Who is anyone to set limits on what is accepted and what is not? Beloved, limits and guidelines, they all come out of experience. In the Old Testament, when the Jews didn't know who they were and who they are supposed to be, God gave them the 10 Commandments. As life improved and technology improved, we then have what we call the road code. People who practice and observe the road code hopefully will drive in safety and not create havoc. People who choose to say, nobody can tell me what to do, ignore the stoplight, ignore the road code. Well, these are the ones that we see over and over being reported as being killed on our streets. Every parent must understand that discipline is a way of showing love. You may not be liked for it, but you weren't put here to be liked by your children. You are called to love them, and they are commanded to love you back. Liking is a choice. That's neither here nor there. So how do we, as shepherds for our children, show proper discipline? One is, as I said, learn to set limits. Limits say, I would like you to operate in this particular way. We can only sow the seeds. In the very beginning, God said to Adam and Eve, eat of everything except that tree. You see that tree? Don't pick anything from that tree. Of course, disobedience and lack of discipline led them to pick from the tree. This is why we are where we are. But we have a shepherd who said, if you choose to listen to my voice and my words, understand that my words are not meant to confine your pleasure. They are meant to lead you into a joy and a peace that no other voice or lifestyle can give. And when parents understand that, they will not be afraid to set limits for our children. Part of disciplining means affirming the good that they do, for instance, being here this morning. But in the same breath, as you affirm the good they do, teach them to reject that which is not good. Spend the time to teach them that which is of God and that which is of the devil. Teach them the difference between right versus wrong. If we don't know the difference, don't be afraid to get help. Too often, people who are sick don't go to the doctor. Too often, too many adults who don't know how to properly practice parental skills don't take the initiative to say, I need help. Help is available for those who choose to search for it. Psalm 23 says, the good shepherd walks with his rod and his staff. You know why he did that? Because when the sheep go astray, the shepherd had to take the rod, grab the sheep by the neck and say, oh, where are you going? Come here. And pull the sheep right back into the fold. Yes, the rod was also used to protect the fold against enemies. But the rod of correction was a tool of love used by the Good Shepherd. And so, beloved, as we continue to journey during this Child Month, I invite you to ponder one last thing. Your children are not perfect. We will not be perfect parents. We can only try our best. And one way of doing that is to seek the voice of the Good Shepherd. So that in trial and error, so that in those moments when we are praised or those moments when we fall down, we must live our lives. That what is the most important lesson we pass on to our children? It is this. Wherever the journey of life takes our child or children, live our lives in such a way that no matter where they go, they will remember that they have the Good Shepherd who died for them, who rose for them, who will always love them and forgive them and take them back home if they simply turn to him, listen to his voice, and respond the way he desires. To this God, beloved, who is our Good Shepherd of life, love, and joy, to him be glory and praise forever and ever.